Hey, welcome back to the exciting episode of Yomo. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. So today we are on reflection 333. You know, repeat,
Yeah, that's
repeat three times.
didn't know that. Yeah, this book today is it's a book called Very, Very, Very Dreadful: The Influenza Pandemic of 1918 by the author Albert Marin.
I end up picking this book.
Honestly, I don't remember how this came across my path, but given COVID over the past couple of years, like I was like, oh, it's be kind of interesting to learn about, the pandemic's past. Yeah, a lot of the books that I've read over this journey have been about like bacteria and viruses. And I just finished that book about CRISPR called The Codebreaker.
You read that one?
Yeah, it was good.
So did you know that the vaccine was made using CRISPR?
Yep. Yeah. Well, I learned that in the book. It's not really a vaccine. It's actually a
No. The vaccine for the COVID was made using Jennifer's CRISPR.
No, I know, but like CRISPR edited stuff. It's not an actual vaccine. It's
not a vaccine. It's
right.
CRISPR. Right. CRISPR is like a scissor.
Yeah, CRISPR.
CRISPR is a tool.
Edited.
That's what I'm saying is the vaccine was made using CRISPR.
But I'm saying it's not a vaccine. It wasn't the
mRNA.
Yeah, it's not technically a vaccine. What they made for COVID, it was CRISPR editing of a DNA.
They make
COVID go away is all that you need to know, but it's a different thing than how a vaccine works.
It's not a traditional vaccine. Johnson & Johnson is the traditional vaccine.
Correct. Yeah.
The Pfizer and the other one, they're using the mRNA method, which isn't really traditionally a vaccine concept.
Yes, that's exactly it. So it's an mRNA is what it's called. It was used by, CRISPR, right? We'll talk about that stuff in the future. But then you have books like I Contain Multitudes, and you have the fungi book, then you have 10 drugs, it was focused a lot about viruses and the demon under the microscope, which is about bacteria, childbed fever in like the 1800s. I've just read a lot of books about bacteria and microbiomes and viruses. You remember the book about Ebola, the hot zone? It was about Ebola, the Ebola outbreak that never happened in the United States. It should have, that was contained. Anyway, so there's been a lot of books on this journey that's been about this stuff. So I think probably my algorithm now on Amazon is like, oh, you might like this book about disease and plague and famine.
I mean, you're looking for the 6 extinctions.
So I think that's probably how this one came across my path. But either way, it's about exactly like what it says, right? The 1918 influenza pandemic killed 500 million people, or a third of the global population at the time. Somewhere between 50 to 100 million people died. It was a really bad pandemic. I just thought I'd be interested to learn about it. The funny thing about this book, actually, that kind of started this off with this reflection. If this book had been written, if I had read this book, let's just say anytime before 2020 and anytime before Amelia, I would have probably said like, holy shit. Like I would have been like, oh my God, like this is coming for us. Like eventually this is going to happen, it's like, it's just a matter of time, before this happens and like everything that these people are going through, it's like, holy shit, I can't even imagine what's going to happen right after Amelia and after COVID and after all the things we've been through the past few years. I kind of finished this book and I was like, whatever, bring it on. It is what it is. And I don't mean that to be like I'm inviting pain and suffering and whatever into my life. It's just like we talked about this yesterday, paradigms on life. Look, I've seen bad shit and I understand what life is. I understand what my purpose is these days and what I'm here for and how I'm going to enjoy every moment that I can of this life. And, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. It's like that goes back to the black swan or, whatever else, right? You can't control this stuff. I mean, like, it doesn't matter how much, we can do a little bit, with technology to maybe lessen the impact of stuff, like CRISPR, like we're talking about, is an amazing discovery. But you know what CRISPR is, I guess, and how it was discovered?
Yeah, it's DNA splicing. Bacteria.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So we didn't invent shit.
We didn't invent anything. Yeah,
bacteria invented for us. When you say, "Hey, I found it," I mean, the thing is, the way CRISPR was found, that was really like everything else, very unconventional. It's not what you think. The people who found it are not doing anything that closely relating to biology or anything like that. It's just like, hey, this is something I just found, like penicillin or whatever. This is something that over a million years, some species have evolved to find a way to protect itself. And so you borrow from bacteria, and bacteria learns how to
protect against viruses.
Splice DNA, right? And you basically, the thing is, when you use CRISPR, you actually just put a piece of the bacteria in there to splice whatever DNA you want.
Yep.
And so you actually using the bacteria to splice it, the DNA, the gene for you. You don't actually physically splice it.
Yeah, you don't do
put
anything.
something
It just it does what it
put
naturally
bacteria in
does.
there.
Right? Right.
Just like hey, you put yeast into sugar, you have alcohol. It's like oh, I made alcohol. I said, no, you
Right.
did.
Yeah.
You didn't make shit. You just put bacteria and your yeast, right, and alcohol and sugar, and then here comes the bacteria, the yeast created these bacteria. Like they eat the sugar. It
That's exactly right.
I mean, so you don't make alcohol. You don't splice shit. You just hey, I put a bacteria in there and it just spliced for me. Okay, and then I took it out.
That's what it did. It's how it naturally works. There's a book we haven't talked about, like you and I, just even outside of the podcast yet, and we haven't got to it obviously because it'll be way down the road. I just finished it I think I finished it when I was in Puerto Rico, so earlier this month, and it was this book called Who Ate the First Oyster. Did I tell you about this book? It was so good. So it was about it was like 10 or 15 different firsts of humanity. I'll have to tell you the chapters.
How to eat something first.
I don't have the actual thing in front of me, but it's like, god damn it, hang on, I'll pull it up off my phone. It's such an interesting book, but it's about people discovering shit, basically, exactly like what you were talking about, right? So this book is who invented inventions, who discovered fire,
the first camera.
The first camera,
who took the picture of the first camera?
Who painted the first masterpiece, the world's first masterpiece, who performed the first surgery, who drank the first beer, who first discovered the Americas, who first rode the horse, who invented the wheel, who was the murderer in the first murder mystery, who was the first person whose name that we actually know, who discovered soap, who caught the first case of smallpox, who told the first joke that we ever know, who shot the first arrow, who invented clothing, who ate the first oyster, who discovered fire, and who invented inventions. So it goes back in time to to dissect how these things even came to be and how we discovered what we discovered, and the first people that kind of like fire, it's like to your point of like CRISPR or beer, right? Beer breaking down, they just left out their plate of oats or barley or rye or wheat, barley or rye, and it started to break down, and then I drank it the next morning. They were like, oh, well, this is safe and it's hearty, and so we have beer. It wasn't like they tried to make alcohol or all these other things. Anyway, we're down a rabbit hole already. But long story short,
it's all right.
what I'm getting at is, before the pandemic, like a lot of these things would have just terrified me, even just thinking about this stuff. But the more that we've learned about the universe, the more that we've learned about what we care about, the more we've learned about why my purpose is and why I'm here. And the same thing for you. I can't speak for you, but I know that I'm not scared about this stuff anymore, and I don't really give a shit. This is just how the world works. It's going to either happen, stuff's going to happen, or it's not going to happen. Do I want it to? Of course not. Do I want to bring pain and suffering into my life? Of course not. This is how the world works, right? The more that we understand, the more that we know, the more that we can live our lives the way that we want to live our lives. And that's that, right? Well, this book in particular, then, so if this reflection really isn't about the influenza pandemic, if you've lived through the past few years of COVID and you're still here, which, it wasn't like it killed hundreds of millions of people or something. So, I mean, feels horrible for anybody whose lives it did claim. Exactly what happened over the past few years is exactly what happened during the 1918 pandemic, almost to a T, except for the only difference was there was a World War I was going on. That was actually how it spread. That was like the biggest catalyst to spreading it, was in the trenches, trench warfare, and dudes away at war. So there's nothing I can teach you that this book taught me that we didn't already learn. You saw firsthand over the past few years. So we don't talk about the book. However, the author did talk about one thing in this book that I thought was really, really interesting. He said the actual real star of the pandemic of 1918 was something he called TLC, right? You know what that stands for, right?
TFC?
Yeah.
10-11 care?
Yeah, exactly. So He goes, that was the real star of the 1918 pandemic, because that was when nurses rose to prominence. They were never really utilized in the way that you think that they were utilized. Back then, they didn't have a whole lot of seat at the table and all. They just kind of did whatever needed to be done. They weren't really a big part of medicine, and just in general. Nurses just are kind of a modern thing. I don't really know the history of nursing, but this is from what this guy was saying in this book. This was the time when they elevated themselves to status of actual hero. You know how you remember back in the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, right? Every medical professional walking to and from, watching the news, and people are just cheering for them everywhere they go and raising signs and flags and whatever and offering them support. This is when this really started to rise to prominence, honoring how heroic these people really are. He was saying that the TLC was really the number one thing that came out of the pandemic, because they never really solved it, right? They didn't have CRISPR technology then. They didn't have whatever. They just had people to try to help care and ease people's pains, and be brave enough to do that. And that's what nurses stepped up and did. Not only did they do that for the flu, they did, or for the pandemic, they did it for soldiers as well. And it made me start to reflect on my experience with nurses. And like, I owe them my two children, honestly. I mean, like, no, there's no way in hell without their tender, loving care that Amelia or Luca, would have ever had a chance of life in this world, let alone Amelia having 39, incredible days here on this earth, and Luca being almost 3 now and thriving, right? Like, I mean, there's just no way they would even exist without, I saw them, watched them every single day, devote endless amounts of attention and hours and time and love and patience, everything they did for my children. Like, I couldn't have done it. I don't think I could have done it. Like, I owe them pretty much everything, and their tender, loving care is what I think is the only reason why my kids are here. Yes, doctors played a big role in this stuff, but they really weren't around. I mean, it was 99% of the time, it was just the nurses. Even though I only spent 92 days with some of these nurses in the hospital, with Luca, and 39 days with Amelia, like, I swear to you, they're some of the people that I have the deepest connections with that I've ever met in my entire life. Just watching them do what they do, having them, the impact they've had on my family. And they truly are, I don't know, there's something about nurses and caregivers like that really does make a difference. And that was the impact on humanity. This is why humans are great, in my opinion. This is our
the saving grace.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like, hey, you guys suck, but okay, you still have something worth keeping.
Our natural vaccine of caring for each other helps us to survive, right? And there's something to that. And that's why the title of this one is The Rose of No Man's Land. So I'll end this one with, there's this poem that the soldiers apparently used to say in World War One. It was called The Rose of No Man's Land. And it goes like this. So there's a rose that grows in no man's land, and it's wonderful to see. Though it's sprayed with tears, it'll live for years in my garden of memory. It's the one red rose that soldiers knows. It's the work of master's hands. Mid the war's great curse stands the Red Cross nurse. She's the rose of no man's land. And I mean, this is like a true poem that they would sing, about like these people matter, and like, helping each other matters. And that's how we survive and endure, and that's how humans do it. That's how I see it, right? So love to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I think as a human, this is our core need for that connection, that TLC, whatever you want to call it. Well, for us, is the TLC. Is this caring for another person? That is something that humans yearn for, and because you are in a state of, when you're in a war, right? And when you're injured, your life will leave you in a moment. So you look for what is most important to you, which is that connection with another person.
Yep.
And like I said, the core need of a human person is to have the feeling. It makes you feel warm inside.
Yep.
That feeling of somebody. I mean, even when
you feel like you're not alone.
Yeah, I mean, that's why people are very afraid to die alone, because when you're on your deathbed, you don't think about how much more money you're gonna make, how much more, whatever that we are trying to get today. We don't think about it because that is not pressing. When it's not pressing, we don't think about what matters to us. We think about what matters in terms of society. But when you're on your deathbed and you're ready to leave life, this is when you throw away everything else you ever thought you knew about what life should be, and think about what life is. And every single man boils down to, this moment of, okay, I need somebody. I don't need money. I don't need cars. I don't need anything. I just need somebody to be here the moment I pass on. And for whatever reason, that's what we need. I don't understand it, but that's something that I think every single person desires and fears that they don't have it. And I think, for a lot of people, for these nurses, and like I say, for me and you, we probably can't be a nurse because we just don't have that gene.
I can't make sure that your psychological needs are taken care of. And like, there's something different about that. Like that book, The 5 Invitations that we talked about a couple books back. Like, I couldn't do that. I could not sit there and watch thousands of people die right in front of me.
I'm saying it requires a genuine person.
Yeah.
To become a nurse, to be that nurse, to be a nurse that is the nurse that you praise. I mean, there are some nurses that are not supposed to be nurse, but there are most nurses.
They're called doctors. I'm serious. Like, the doctors have the worst bedside manner that I've ever seen in my life. Nurses are.
I mean, I think that's what I'm saying is they are built that way.
Yeah.
Right. And like I said, these nurses, they have to be built to be nurses. If you are not built to be a nurse and you somehow become a nurse, that is probably the hardest job. You see pain everywhere, all day long, every day. Just for a few days, you're going to be drained emotionally and physically. You're going to be drained. Some of these nurses are like, they've been nurses for 10 years, 20 years, all their life. And sometimes the work shifts as 12-hour shifts. To me, emotionally and physically, I cannot do it. For me to see one person in pain, it drains me. And so, like I said, it takes a very, very special build of a person to be a nurse. I praise the nurses for their ability to do that. I just don't have the ability to do that. And I'm built different. I'm built for something else. Like I said, people must damn. I can't do something that I'm not built for. But thank God there are other people who are.
Yeah. I mean, for TLC, we did not build Clubany with TLC as one of our core values. And it's not going to be like that environment. That is not who we are. And that's okay. I promise you, the most traumatic thing that I probably will ever go through in my entire life is what we experienced with Amelia every single day, the roller coaster that was life and death in that place every single day. I have their names in here: Stacy, Lori, Joni, Raina, Jessica, Charity, Molly, Emily. Like, these are people that every single day were there with me, every single day, that 12 hours a day shifts, like you said, dealing with the same thing that I was dealing with, but they didn't stop. Like, mine ended, right? After Luca left the NICU. That wasn't traumatic, really. Like, his whole experience it would be traumatic for 99% of other parents, but after we'd already been through what we'd been through with Amelia, like, that was kind of just like, it was kind of annoying is what it was, really, to be honest with you. We all know that he's gonna be fine. Let's just get the fuck out of here. I don't want to fucking be in this place anymore, but I still appreciated all the care that they gave Luca. I got to leave, even though I'm still scarred for life. I think about it every single day. It's burned into my fucking memories. I can't unknow it. This is what they do every day. I asked them so many times, how do you do this every day? How do you absorb all of this pain, suffering, trauma?
They have a big heart. I mean, just like if somebody asks you, "Hey, Chris, how do you keep reading every single day? How do you keep writing every single day? How do you live for 2 every single day?" They can't do it because they don't have the capacity. But I'm saying is these nurses, they are built for that. So
they are.
To me, it is tough from our perspective, but for them, because they have the faculty to do that, to me, they probably, wouldn't want to do anything else.
No, I mean,
right?
I do you know any nurses?
Because you think about it, if a person has the ability to give, right? If they have so much ability to give this TLC and they could not give it, what would that do? Let's say you have a bunch of money, right? But you can't spend it. What would it do to you? If let's say you have this like full, like completely, like all the secrets of the world, that maybe you say, "Hey, True, you are suffering with this and that. I know the answer," but you can't share it. If you know all the answers in the world, right? If you're this wise person, it's like you are blessed. Like, let's say God comes down to you, "Hey, I ordain you with the gift of wisdom, and you know everything, whatever problem would anyone have, whatever pain that anyone have, you have that capacity to solve and to ease the pain of people, but you can't do it. How would that make you feel? It is actually going to be torture for you if you have the ability, but you cannot use that ability. So for me, it's like you think about if you have all the wisdom in the world, but you see the suffering of people, the suffering of the people around you, of anyone, but you cannot help them. To me, this is torture. So for these nurses, I think they have a big heart. God give them a big heart, right? They have to give the TLC because that is what they are made for. And so I think because from our perspective, it's very hard because we cannot take their place because we don't have that capacity, but they do. And when they do have a capacity, I don't think they could do anything else. They wouldn't want to do anything else other than, hey, I have the ability to do TLC. That's what I'm going to do. So I think all in all, we need to also understand and be happy for them that they're able to fulfill their because for us, I think deep down as a core level, we have an innate desire to share. So whatever you have, you're going to share. Let's say you have a great idea, you're going to share. Well, you have a big heart, you want to share. You have an answer you want to share, right? If I say, hey, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with that, and you know something, hey, I know this CBD thing that's going to help you with shoulder. I'll tell you about it, right? So that's the thing is when you have something, sharing is actually giving you that connection. The connection is the joy. So I think that yes, it is a very, very tough job for the person who's not fitted, but it's actually a fulfilling job if you have the right capacity, the right faculty to do the TOC. Yes, when you look from that perspective, it's a rose in the no man's land, right? That is very, very grim. But there is a rose in the no man's land, but that rose would not want to grow anywhere else.
That's true.
Right?
That's true. I mean, yeah, you're right.
It's a rose in the heart of winter or whatever. That rose will only grow there.
Right.
Because that rose was needed there. And it was created for that purpose. And without the ability to grow there, it did not able to fulfill its purpose. Therefore, that particular rose would not be satisfied. So I think we want to look from that perspective. That's why I think if you look from that perspective, you can feel, I guess, safe. I don't know about safe, but in a way, safe to be who you are. Hey, I am a beaver. I must do my part. Right. There are other people who have other faculties that will do their part. And we are all part of the ecosystem. That way, we are symbiosis or another. That's what we are. This is the reason why human is an apex animal in the animal kingdom, is because we are symbiosis. Mm-hmm. You think about all the things that we better share with each other to be able to, CRISPR comes about, right? The pandemic came. I mean, how it came, for what reason it came, we don't know. And it could be by, like I say, all the stars are aligned, all the criteria has been turned on at some point and at the lines, and it creates this pandemic. But there is somebody who say, hey, I have saw this CRISPR technology. Now we're able to lessen the impact. I mean, we're still here. We have to, extinct ourselves from the face of the earth.
Right. And actually, Jennifer is a great example of that. Like, she was obsessed with RNA, like, why? I don't know. She gave up everything to study this stuff, to move to different places, to do whatever. This was her obsession. This is what made her happy. And that's how we got CRISPR. Dannon yogurt was like one of the biggest pieces of this whole puzzle because bacteria matters a lot to yogurt makers, right? And they've tracked for hundreds of years since they've been making Dannon yogurt, like the different types of bacteria that they've had to fight against and to protect against, and how they've gone away or not gone away. They had all this data that they've been tracking because they loved yogurt. You never know when your contribution is going to be.
Exactly. This is the point of company is,
right.
You are valuable to somebody at some point in time. Because Jennifer Doudna say, well, I love doing these things. whether it has any application in the future. I'm not looking for money. I'm just looking for the knowledge of I am obsessed for some reason. But when the time comes, she becomes a hero. Same thing with the nurses, right? Back in the days, nurses don't have a role, but now they are the roles in no man's land.
Right.
So the thing is, when you have
how hospitals can even function without nurses at this point in time. Can you imagine a hospital filled with no nurses and just doctors?
Well, there were nurses.
That's what I'm saying.
And there's only doctors.
Can you imagine what that would be
more
like?
people die.
I wouldn't even want to go to the hospital. I'd be like, whatever, that's fine. Like, I'm
well,
good.
The thing
like,
is, when,
I'm gonna die.
when,
I'll just die. You know.
When you go to the hospital, right? It's basically a place for you to wait to die. That's what happened in the past when there's no nurses. Until the discovery of the bacteria and the microbes and all that, right? People don't wash their hands and all that. You go to the hospital, you actually are almost guaranteed to die.
Yeah. No, I mean it was a death sentence. Like actually, you ever heard of the whole child bed fever? Have you ever heard of that before? This was in, I think I want to say it was in Ireland, or maybe it was Edinburgh or something, Scotland, one of those areas. And they were trying to go get, I think it was the Catholic Church or some church was trying to get all the prostitutes to go to the safe hospital to birth their kids, and they were all go and they would fucking die. And everybody that had kids back at home, their mortality rates were drastically low. And you're like, holy shit, this is like a death sentence. You go to the hospital to have a kid and you fucking die. I mean, like, it's to your point, it was horrible. I wouldn't want to go to the hospital. Now I know for a fact, just given what we've experienced in the past few years, I saw a doctor less than 3% of the time. The rest of the time, it was nurse all day, every day, next to my kid's side.
I've been there. I believe it. The doctor shows up for like 15 minutes. He comes back in 3 days. Yep. All the time, the nurse comes in every 15 minutes. Hey, I need to check. I need to check your vitals. I need to do this. And they are the one that's there. They are the one that you see. The rose in no man's land. What I'm saying is, it's nice and safe knowing that there are people with special capacities and abilities that will do their part to make the ecosystem go round. And I think that's going to give you a sound mind and a warm heart to do your job, whatever that is. Whether you're a painter, whether you're a fisherman, whether you're a soap maker, whether you're, whatever that is you do, just do your part. You will contribute to society just by doing what you do best.
Yep.
Knowing that you are made for that. And there are other people who are made for other stuff. So I wouldn't worry about the nurses that say, well, there's certain things that I can't do, but they can because they have that special. And I thank God they're there, but I would not feel bad for them because they're not in a bad position.
Oh yeah, they're doing what they love. I mean, you're right. If you didn't love it,
you cannot endure it because it you put me there, I wouldn't last more than a day.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I can't even be. I mean, as a patient or as a relative of a patient, I mean, hospital scares me,
dude.
And so,
most terrifying place ever.
So I don't know if I can be a nurse, and so that's why I don't have that ability, but they do. And so, feel good knowing that they are equipped.
Yes.
So don't feel bad for them because that doesn't do them justice. Because let them do what they like to do, what they are meant to do, what they are made to do. And so you feel good about doing your part, whatever that is.
And that's something that only humans are uniquely.
You could be a joke,
to do.
A comedian, right? Bring laughter to the world. Do what you do. Don't feel bad for what you do, and don't feel bad for other people who have to do things that you wouldn't want to do.
I think it's an amazing point. 2 final thoughts for me really fast. You know any nurses personally in your life that's like close to you by any chance?
My sister-in-law is a nurse, and my sister is a nurse.
Yep.
So.
And how are they like as humans, just in general? I mean, like, growing up with your sister, how was she growing up? Could you tell that she was always meant to be a nurse? You know what I mean?
For me, my sister is always my sister.
Right. Yeah, but you could see the way that she.
Well, my sister-in-law, when I see her, it's more of a gentle side versus, right? My sister is my sister because she's my sister, right? It's one of those things where you have a different look on your sister. But my sister-in-law, when I see her from an outsider perspective, she's more on a gentle side. right? Versus the size that is quick to anger and all this, which is, I can't do that, right? I am very straightforward, right? If I'm mad, I'm mad. If I'm not, I'm not. So I'm not good at soothing people.
Right. Right. No, I mean, I totally understand that. I would never classify you as a soother. I guess
I'm a straight shooter, but I'm not a soother.
Well, you'd probably be an okay doctor because doctors are.
Well, the thing is, this is the reason why you need people like doctors, and you need people like me, and you need, because I think for me, because I am almost unattached in a way, I can make very objective decisions. You can ask me something, I can give you objectively, these are the options, right? And you choose whatever, and I would not interfere with you.
Yep. Actually, it's so funny you say that, because I used to always ask the nurses, for Amelia and Luca's nurses, I would ask them, why don't you guys, because I love asking questions, right? And I love learning. So I did it while I was in the NICU with them all the time. I'd ask every question you could ever imagine about their care and the machinery and the equipment. How does it work? What's the impact? What's it, blah, blah, blah. Like, I would talk to these people all day long. They knew a lot. They knew everything for the most part. And they were very, very smart. The nurses were. And then the doctor would come in and he would bark some orders. After I had been talking to the nurses for days about, well, what if we did this? What if we did that? Why did we do this? Why did we do this? And they would give me all these great answers, and they would give all the reasons behind it. They would humor me. They would talk to me. The doctor would come in. He would say whatever. And then they would kind of just docilely step back and let the doctor do what he does. And then as soon as they would walk out of the room, I'm like, you told me about that 2 days ago. Why don't they just listen to what you got? Why don't you guys just make the directions of what to do? And they were like, oh no, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. You know, because to your point, they're like, this is my lane. I just like to care, and I'm going to let them do what they do. I don't want to own that.
Your point, like, the nurses can do everything a doctor could.
Right.
The only thing they could not do is make the decisions.
That's correct.
Because and the thing is, for one, it is their strength, and it's also their weakness. Their strength is they're able to attach and connect with you, and because they attach and connect with you, they cannot be unbiased.
Yes.
Right? There are other patients out there, right? What if I were to contain a pandemic? You can't rely on a nurse to contain a pandemic, because whoever come and ask them, it's what they're gonna give you, right? They're gonna give you all the medicine. Say, hey, you need this. Even though there are like 100,000 people that are not there, that haven't talked to them, will be coming in and say, well, these guys are going to create more chaos. So this is the strength and the weakness. Their strength is able to connect, but because they connect, they have empathy.
Yes, they can't own this stuff. They have
sympathy, so they cannot. They cannot own it. They cannot.
They can't detach.
They can't detach. So if you plead with them, they will. It's the emotion versus the overall. That's why sometimes in a certain position, you have to be detached. Something with programming, you have to be detached. You have to be very, very objective, because you say, well, what would a computer do? Right? Versus, hey, how would a computer feel? A computer doesn't feel, so you cannot think like that. You have to think in a way that is detached for you to become a good programmer, if you want to be in the programming field and the logic field. But if you're something with the nurses, right? They have the ability to, let's say you are very like sensitive to people's feeling, right? Let's just say you're very sensitive to people's feeling. I mean, you can feel their feeling. So that means that you go around people, you say, hey, he's happy, so you're happy. When a person comes happy, you're happy. But when you found a person that is not happy, your energy goes down, because you feel it. So you're going to be sad all the time. So everything in the universe, their strength is also a weakness. It depends on how you use it, and it depends on the perspectives.
When I asked you about if you personally know any nurses, my aunt Christy, who's sadly no longer with us, she passed away probably been at least 6-7 years ago now. She was an RN. She was the most caring person you will ever meet in your life, ever. Like, it was unreal. She spent every summer with us growing up. She was my babysitter growing up. She, that lady like would give, if you asked her for her leg because you needed it, she would give you her leg. I mean, and when she wouldn't even think about it, she'd be like, okay, fine, I'll figure it out. Like, here's my leg.
And that's what I'm saying is, when they attached to you, logic went out the window.
It did. Yeah. I mean, it was unbelievable like how much she gave and why she was such an amazing nurse. She was an incredible nurse, but you know what? The strength is always the weakness. The one thing that she didn't care for her entire life was herself, which is, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, a lot of medical professionals are horrible about caring for their own self, especially nurses. They always put other people first. Always.
If you ask for a leg, she give you a leg, and so that's what I'm saying is it's like, well, I don't think about, okay, I would be able to provide more care if I have my leg, right? But if you ask for a leg, she'll give you a leg, and that's the thing is that sacrifice is a strength, but it's also a weakness. Exactly. And so that's what I'm saying is it's not that they cannot be doctors. They don't know what to do. They probably know more than the doctors because they're there in the room, in the trenches. They live it. They see everything. Right. They probably have more insight than the doctors. Oh yeah. They cannot make decisions because they are so much attached to the situations or the connections, and so that becomes, the arbitrage on their shoulders.
Talk about the one saving grace. If you ever find yourself in a hospital and you're in a serious situation, like the one saving grace that I can always hang my hat on, knowing how empathetic nurses are and how much they care, you do not ever need to be afraid unless you see your nurses afraid. If they're not scared, then you don't need to be scared, because trust me, they will be more scared than you. Like they just do everything more than you, like they feel more than you. They feel, if they're not worried,
they know more than you.
To be worried. Right.
They are the first one to know, because if they feel something, they know. So if they're like, hey, they're not in a hurry, it's because there's nothing to worry about.
Yes. If they would be, it's unbelievable how much you can gauge the situation just by watching them and their emotions, and like, it's not like they're out of control emotions. They just know when it's serious and when it's not, like, I mean, they've done this a million, like there's no way you could be in that environment for 20 plus years and do it every single day if you didn't have some way to regulate your, not care levels, because they're always caring, but like that panic level, right? Because in theory, every single person that walks into that room for the first time is a panic of a 10, 9.5, most likely, when as soon as they like, they're at like a 2, because if they lived every day at a 9.5, like they would never be able to wake up and come to work the next day, right? So like they've seen it all, they've done it all, they've experienced it all, and they care more than you, and they understand more. So like it's just, if you ever find yourself in that situation, just look at the nurse and she will tell you like what's gonna happen, like, should I be worried? Like, and if you're not, then you're good. But yeah. All right. So that's kind of my general final thoughts, I guess. Any final thoughts on your end?
Thank you for the rose in the no man's land.
Agreed. They're incredible. Thanks for being there, honestly, like for all of them.
God for making them.
Yeah. I mean, yes. I mean, I don't think about my Aunt Chrissy as much as I should, and I should, because she was incredible and just one of those people. And like I said in here, Stacy, Lori, Joni, Raina, Jessica, Emily, Charity, Molly, like all these people, I can see them. I can see what they did for me and for my family, and I can see how much they care. And I know as soon as I talk to them, I told you my little secret today about, Felicia's expecting again potentially, and hopefully, whatever happens.
Not a secret anymore.
Yeah, not a secret anymore. But she, when we had Luca, she went to the high risk OB. Her name was Dr. Seifries. She's was at Riley's Hospital for Children, where both the kids were. She's an incredibly nice, caring doctor, because she deals with very, very, very touchy situations with people that are very emotional. So Felicia called and talked to her today. I overheard her conversation because she had her on speakerphone, and she was talking to Dr. Seifries, because normally she's like the head of all the maternal fetal medicine clinic at this hospital, and she doesn't usually ever talk to patients unless she's like, it's her patient and she has to talk to them, and she usually lets coordinators and shit like that handle it. But she heard that Felicia had called in, and she has a soft spot in her heart for her and our family, just knowing what we've gone through. And I heard her saying this, like she was like, I just had to pick up the phone when I knew it was you. Like she was like, I'm just, there's something about you and your family, and I don't know.
You have that connection that drives you.
It is, and it's all these people. Like, we're connected forever to all these people, all these professionals, all these people that have been with us at our worst and our best. I'll never forget them for the rest of my life. If I have a daughter, Raina might be one of her names. My wife and I, we talked about this a lot. Raina was there with Amelia on her last night, and Raina is a very special place in our heart. She's an amazing person, and I don't know how she did that. I don't know how she did it. Like, that's how much I feel connected to some of these people. There's nobody else in this world that I would ever even think about naming my daughter or son after, other than maybe my parents. I don't give a shit about anybody else in this world to be like, oh yeah, I need to name him Pete, like after my grandfather. I don't fucking care. Pete's a great guy, but not,
Stem after Steve.
Right.
It's like, man, Elon.
Yeah, name him. Yeah, Elon, right.
Tesla.
I do, and I have.
Yeah,
I have
Mac.
Yeah.
Why you name after Steve?
I don't give a shit because I don't have a connection to them, But these people, I do. These people changed my life and touched my life,
And that's our point. The point is, let us be human beings, right? We're not a number. We're not just an object, right? We need to be human beings. Human beings need to have
Each
connections,
other. Yeah.
right? That connections is what make us human beings. And so that, to me, at the end of the day, is what's important, because only when you're at your deathbed, you think about the thing that matters. We today don't think about these things. We think about all the things that doesn't matter at all, right?
Yeah, really dumb shit. Boxes to the FedEx, and where am I going to get time to go do that? And you're like, well, shit.
Yeah, keep y'all, right? Hey, that does not make you human beings. But these activities do what we do, right? We are beaver. We build dams. That makes us human beings. Beaver beings. You get my point.
Yep. Agreed. Well, hopefully this conversation helps other people. And thanks for joining, as always. And the question we can share with you is, how can you share a little TLC to help ease the suffering of people in your life?
Who you got to be.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Exactly. I think that's a great way to end it. Great comment. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Good night, everybody.